who passed away on December 28th. And thank you. May they both rest in peace. We are, unless the any of the commissioners have issue, I want to take the agenda out of order. The chief, who will not be present tonight, actually gave the department clerk some notes to pass along to us. But we are going to go to new business, provided there's no objection. We have several council people that need to address the board, and the reason that I asked to take the agenda out of order and put them on is we know they have a council meeting this evening because of the holiday yesterday. They'll be meeting tonight, and they're starting at 6:30. So again, if there's no objection, I'll get along to the first item under new business 3A. We have a request from Council Member Mary McBride Lee to address the board, and I know with this request, so included Lyle Hassan Jones, and I will turn it over to Reverend Lee, who in turn can turn it over to Lyle. That's okay. All right, Reverend, the floor is yours.
Commissioner Rhodes, our council meeting was canceled this evening.
Oh, the council meeting was canceled this evening. All right, well, that's so much for being nice. I'll make everybody wait.
No. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I think we can still move along. Okay, Reverend Lee, please. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad that Anita, Councilwoman Martinez, is on, because I didn't get the thing. I was on my way out the door. Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Reverend Mary McBride Lee. And the reason that I would like to address you all today, and I hope that Lyle has a copy of what we would like to read into the minutes on tonight. There's a lot been going on with the police department and some of the one of the council members. And what we would like to do is we want our police officer to know, and we want the city of Bridgeport to know also that we stand in solidarity with our police officer. I was a little disturbed about the comment that was made in the paper about our police officer. Myself, I don't think that I would like to be anywhere without a police officer and fireman somewhere. And the statement that was made, I'm an Alabama girl, and I took that to heart, and not only for our police officer, but the community at large. I do believe that when we are in position to lead, that we have to be very careful about what we say and what we do, and we have to show respect too. Now, calling our chief a pig and calling the police officer piglets, to me in Alabama, I am an Alabama girl. To me in Alabama, that's the first cousin to calling somebody a nigger, and we don't take kindly for that. And I do believe also that if it's going to offend me, that it should offend everybody else too. We did write a letter. We wrote a letter so that we can give it to the police department and to the chief of police. I think that I emailed him one, and it addressing how we felt about the situation and what it can cause. And I hope that Lyle is getting the letter out now as I speak. I left mine in my car, but also that what we would like to do is we want police officers around the state to come to Bridgeport and stand in solitary with our police officer. I haven't talked to too many since this happened, but I can imagine how they might feel, because I know how I might feel, and we want them to know that we are there with them, and some action will be taken from the council, from the individual that made that statement. Now, Lyle, do you have the letter with you that we put together? I guess he's not there.
Lyle, you have to turn off your mute button. There you
No,
go.
I with me, but Dave, do you have it, or Hector, that we gave you?
I have all my paperwork is at work. I apologize. I do have a copy, but I left it at work. I apologize.
Uh-huh.
You don't have
Well,
your copy, Beverly?
well, no, mine. No, I don't have it on me in the house. Mine at work too. But what I would like to say is, Lyle, well, you can speak to you just about know what's on there, and I would like you to speak to the council and I mean, speak to the commissioner, and you can just about sum up what was on that letter, okay, and why we wrote the letter. All right. And probably that'll be good. And what we would do is we'll email a copy to each one of the commissioners, you know, so that you can have it and know what we're talking about.
I could
Okay.
also have my copy sent over to Stacy, Lieutenant Lyons in the morning, if you'd like, also I can forward it to her and she can forward it out to everybody.
Okay, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. So, Lyle, can you speak to that what we wrote and why we wrote it?
First of all, I would like to say good evening to the commissioners and thank you for having us. And when I heard what had taken place at that meeting a couple of weeks ago with Councilwoman Maria Pereira, it kind of disturbed me when people were coming together in solidarity to try to end the conflict with the Palestinian and Jewish people. We think, first of all, when she started calling them thugs and terrorists, where she was inciting some type of divisiveness between the Muslim community and the Jewish community. So that was one of the things that really bothered us. And then she segued into, I don't know how she was able to segue herself into disrespecting and condemning the police officer, the Chief Porter, by calling him a pig and by calling the other officers piglets. And so for a person who is a council member of this city and who represents a district, we think that kind of behavior is uncalled for. And so we're calling for solidarity between the police commissioners and police departments around the country or nearby neighboring cities to come together in solidarity and say we're standing with police officers and get as many citizens as we can to stand with police officers and then condemn this type of language in this speech, and also call for her resignation. And if she refused to resign, that we want the council members to make sure that they relieve her of all her assignments in the council, whatever power you have to because the type of hate speech and language that she had stated that day really is very disturbing. And so that's why we're and hope that we all can come together under accord and show that we're not going to stand for any bigotry, racism, hatred, and especially the undermining of our police department and the police in the city of Bridgeport. That's basically what the letter is addressing, and that's exactly what we want to see happen. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Lyle. Any of the commissioners care to make a brief comment or have a question?
I appreciate the council members coming out and speaking to us and giving us this opportunity to also voice our concerns on this issue. I, for one, am very proud of our police chief and our police force, and find it disparaging that somebody would use their seat as a representative of the people to say anything disparaging about our force instead of using their words to uplift. They used them to tear down.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Okay.
Wanted to thank both Bashley and
Hassan.
Imam Lal Hassan. Yeah, Imam Lal Hassan. I want to give proper respect to my brother. Yeah, I want to echo what Commissioner Diaz said in terms of supporting our police department. And so that's all I have to add to it, Commissioner Roach.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilwoman, thank you very much. And Mr. Lyle Hassan Jones, thank you. Looks like you're getting your steps in there as as we speak here. Our next item on the agenda is a request from Council Member Anita Martinez to address the board regarding speed bumps for Wilmot Street. Councilwoman Martinez. There you are. Good
evening. Board of Commissioners, thank you for having me this evening. So I had been sending emails back and forth, unaware to myself of apparently there was some back and forth with my partner Ernest Newton and the Wilmot Avenue issue, which surrounds the area of Jetty Tisdale School. And I have to say that I have literally parked in the area myself, and the cars fly right through the stop sign that is literally on the corner of Wilmot and Alex Street. It's really bad over there. I don't understand why we have to go through the process of the engineering department, getting signatures from homeowners. It's like a human life is a never mind. We have a lot of kids that come from that area that cross from their residence to the other side of Wilmot, to Alex, to then Hollister. So my email was basically that whole surrounding area. Wilmot, Alex, it's all in the school district. It's all within an area that needs more than a stop sign. I mean, I can go on about a lot of areas in the city of Bridgeport that more than a stop sign, but that's important to me. And I went back and forth with our engineer with regards to what he stated we needed. And apparently, I don't know, I guess Wanda was working on this at some point and she had gotten 32 signatures. I don't care about any of that. When I came back on the council, it was brought to my attention by a few homeowners that feel nothing is being done. They feel as if the city doesn't care anything about a human life. They feel as if their kids are in danger. So what they're doing now, which is even twice as bad, so their kids are going around to Stratford Avenue now. So they're going up Wilmot, turning on Stratford Avenue, now having to go across the street to the liquor store on Hollister to cross that street to then get to Jetty Tisdale, because now their parents are not sending them Wilmot to Alex to Hollister. Both directions they go can cause a fatality for a child. And that's all I have to say. So I urge the Board of Commissions to look into this. I don't see why we have to go so hard on getting signatures from homeowners. Is something that's needed over there. Like, I literally sat over there for a whole hour and probably should have videoed all the cars that just zoom right past the stop sign. It's like a highway over there on the east end. The whole highway. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councilwoman Martinez. We, this board actually approved speed humps for Wilmot, and that was on condition that the other requirements had been met. And one of the requirements was, and that this board approved as a policy, that and a certain percentage of residents in that area need to sign a petition saying that they want it. The petition that was turned in wasn't so much from residents, as I recall, as the as members of the church on Wilmot. And other commissioners, you can correct me if I'm forgetting something, or but that's how I understood it. And I think as far as the engineer's office is concerned, once the signature requirement is taken care of, they can move ahead. Now, just it's a question of who, the original applicant can supply it. Council people can supply it. I think anybody can put something on paper and get the required amount of signatures. And I know it sounds like, we don't, it may sound like that's a requirement that doesn't make any sense, but we did actually we did approve that, and it was there was some rationale behind it. Anybody recall anything else? Am I forgetting something here? But that's how I remember.
Commissioner Rhodes, so
Yeah.
this is only regarding the speed humps, am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
So you don't think that 32 or more members of a church that witnessed this?
No, the thing is, they don't live, it's residents, not church members.
Okay,
It needs to be residents. That's what the confusion was. And there was plenty of signatures, but they were members of the church on Wilmot Street with addresses all over the all over the East End and all over the city. It's got to be a certain amount of Wilmot Street residents. So,
okay.
Are you recommending that I restart the process with the?
well, it's just the process when it was done. I think that's the only piece left of the process is just a list of residents. And again, and I'm sorry, Nate, if I can't remember exactly, what percentages, is it 20% of the I don't know. I don't recall what the number was, but the mistake was it was residents of, or not resident. It wasn't residents, but it was folks that were members of the church on Wilmot.
Okay, so if I get these petitions signed, it can be. Does it have to be homeowners? Does it have to be?
No, residents, not homeowners. There was a little confusion there, if I remember right. They said, "Oh, somebody said up about homeowners," but it's actually residents. We're not going to be chasing down landlords. But it's the residents.
No problem. So
and you and I can speak tomorrow. We can tighten up exactly, what the percentage is needed. I'd be more than happy to get that straightened out with you, Anita.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Okay, we had a request from Council Member Matthew McCarthy to address the board. I spoke with him earlier today, and he just wanted to pass along his greetings as one of the liaisons from the City Council to the Commission. So we have Mary McBride Lee, Anita Martinez, and Matthew McCarthy as our council liaisons. Next up is a request from Dustin Halpin to address the board regarding the regular board meeting held on December 19th. If I know we were going to move the council people forward. If the commissioners want me to go back to the regular order of the agenda.
You should just proceed under new business. Might as well cover it all.
Yeah, we just, I know we have Lieutenant Rosen he is here also. I tell you, I wouldn't mind, and if the folks starting with Mr. Halpin will be patient just a little bit. We're going to go back to the regular board agenda.
Commissioner Roach, I thought,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm getting Commissioner Cruz wrong, but I thought you were already in that section. She suggested that maybe we just finish.
Okay, we do have Lieutenant Rosem on hold here, who is who's on the clock, actually, if that's okay. I'd like to at least move him through.
Well, I'll put a motion on that. We continue and finish that section
Okay,
of the
all
agenda.
right.
And
Okay,
if anybody wants to
that's fine.
second it and move it forward, then we'll.
All right.
Second.
Okay, all right, Lieutenant, bear with us. Okay, request from a Dustin Halpin, who I see is on.
Yep.
Sir,
Yes.
the floor is yours.
Yes. So I guess at one of the last meetings they had talked about maybe changing or bending the truck one and accident tow requirements for someone. And I wrote something quick. I'll read it and we'll go from there. My name is Dustin Halpin from Midtown Auto Body. My stepfather started this business 43 years ago. When he started this business to meet the truck one and accident criteria, one of the things he had to do was purchase a truck, buy a larger outside storage lot, as well as another building to accommodate storage requirements set by the city. Just like all the other tow company owners, they did not have anyone to help them bend or skirt these rules. The city came up with these rules and criteria for a reason. Needing 3 trucks, one of them being a flatbed, needing outside storage for up to 20 cars, inside storage for up to 10 cars, so you're not storing customers' cars on the city street. You need a used dealer repair license. You need to meet the insurance requirements set forth by the city. You need to pay the annual $27.50 for truck one, $450 for accident turns, that all of the tow companies have been paying annually to be on these lists. I don't know why the city would consider waiving these rules for anyone, especially someone who has a conflict of interest with someone on the police commissioner's board or city council. I know in the past there have been people who worked in the police department who tried to get on the truck one and accident list and who were denied by the city due to conflict of interest. With what's going on with our mayor election in the national news, problems with our last police chief, I would think the city would want to be as transparent and above board as possible. Make sure any rules set in place are followed to the letter. Instead, it sounds like the opposite. Someone is using their position and influence to help someone they personally know to gain an advantage against the system that you, the city, has put in place for that exact reason. My stepfather, who is 73 years old, who still works 80 hours a week, who started this business and made sacrifices to start this business and follow the rules, cannot speak tonight because he's been working since 3 a.m. I know as someone who worked his whole life to build this business, he is extremely disappointed that this was considered. And if the rules are broke for someone else who has connections, why do we all have to follow these rules, pay our dues? This is not the example our elected officials should be setting. I strongly urge you to make sure that the rules and laws that are in place are followed and not broken or changed for any one person. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is a request from John Ortiz.
Thank you.
To address the board. Is there a Mr. Ortiz here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, the floor is yours, sir.
I'm speaking on behalf of 2 other companies also. Family Garage couldn't do it today. And Jack's Auto, Alex Rivera, and Thornton Scott. My name is John Ortiz. I'm the owner of Cityline Auto. I listened to a council person last month speak on the board and tell the board how a voter in her area is trying to get on the police calls. And he's an individual that's trying to get ahead and he would like to be on. And they were considering about changing rules for him. I am a Hispanic that came on 35 years ago. 35 years ago, I had Jim Hannes tell me that I couldn't qualify because I needed more storage area and I needed more trucks. Well, I went and borrowed and I got more trucks and I got a storage area to comply. Alex Rivera, which owns Jack's, was also told that he had to pay $27.50 midterm of his trying to get on, and he did. And then 2 months later, he had to pay another $27.50 to stay on. It's not fair that we're going to change laws and we're going to change rules for a council person that is her baby daddy, owns the business, and she represents her as a voter in her district that she's trying to help because he's a poor individual. This has got to stop in the city of Bridgeport. We have ordinances in place. These ordinances are there for a reason. They've been there for 50 to 60 years that the council did for the reason of overloading with vehicles, parking vehicles in the street. I recently sent some paperwork over to your lieutenant there, showing how right now he occupies the road with construction vehicles, he blocks sidewalks, he has abandoned cars around the area, and furthermore, I listened to council person last month say about cleaning her area. He has a garbage dumpster in the middle of the street, which I took a picture of, with raw garbage in the dumpster and abandoned cars in front of it. The board should consider, before you try to change any regulations, please ride by these locations and see what's going on. We're having a problem with Butterfuco right now, where the area is too small, and they let them have a truck one in an accident, and all he does is occupy the whole road, and people can't even get into their houses over there on Bond Street. We have to watch what we do. We're ruining our city by allowing to change rules because the council people think, well, let me speak and let me try to change it for someone. I'm Hispanic. They never changed it for me 35 years. Why are they going to change it for him? Alex is Hispanic. Let's quit using the Hispanic here. I am one, and I work hard to get where I got. Please leave it the way it is. If he wants to be on, let him buy 3 trucks, let him buy a storage area, and let him do the right thing. He did not buy Anthony's Auto Body, by the way. He bought the land after Anthony Auto Body went out of business. The section that she made the phrase about the state section was complied if he bought the corporation. He didn't buy Anthony's. Anthony's already closed for 2 years. Anthony's did have his own storage area on Stratford Avenue that he purchased 40 years ago just to store the vehicles. We cannot change laws for people because the councilwoman says we have to. Thank you. I appreciate for the board allowing me to speak, and I hope this comes to a head now that you've got more enlightenment on what's really going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a request from Thornton Scott to address the board.
Commissioner Roach, I believe Commissioner Cruz had her hand raised for something.
Well, I'm not sure if Commissioner Roach, you're just going to go right through them and then we can comment, or should we?
Yeah, that's probably, I think we need to do that. But I don't know if Mr. Ortiz was speaking for 2 other folks. I don't know if that was Mr. Scott in Noons.
Yes, it was. Yes,
Okay, it was. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, Commissioner Cruz.
Well, I wanted to address, who was it that just spoke? John Ortiz?
Mm-hmm.
So John, if just to be clear, it's really unfortunate. I understand your position, and yes, there are some of us, not all of us, that we do drive through areas before we even consider any approval. But in this particular case last month, that it was an objection. If you get on YouTube and you listen to that board meeting, none of that was approved because we understand we did not want to be skipping any requirements just because of what was presented to us.
Actually, Commissioner Cruz, if I remember correctly, the board, the approval from the board was conditional on all rules and regulations being met.
Correct.
Including, zoning and every other one on the list.
So they haven't been met though. So it hasn't.
They obviously, apparently they haven't been met. And if there's an issue with storage requirements or equipment needs, there's going to be we're not waiving anything. We just granted approval on those conditions. If the gentleman can follow the rules as you say, then fine. If he can't, then it is what it is.
Thank you. That's why I was speaking
today.
Well,
he didn't get a green light. He did not get a green light.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Going back.
Commissioner Roach, real quick.
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz, I did not get an email. You mentioned that you sent me an email with some pictures. I did not get an email. If you would like to try to resend that to me, and then I can provide that to the council, to the board if they would like.
Yes.
And for the record, also, if you mentioned a dumpster and some potential blight issues, there is, you can call the health department and ask for the blight officers too.
So have unpaid taxes also that haven't been paid, that supposedly he submitted a document that said they were paid.
Okay, I mean, aside from that, though, I remember you mentioned some blight issues, but you could reach out to the health department and ask for the blight officers.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, if we're ready to move on, as I stated earlier, the chief of police cannot be with us, Lieutenant Lyons. I think that the chief gave you a few notes to pass along to the board.
Yes, sir. He apologized for not being able to make it, but due to the ice and everything else, he's not able to get on. He wanted me to bring up 4 points that he wanted me to mention. The Project Lifesaver that we have started and we promoted, the police department has started and promoted. This is a bracelet program for those that are suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's, and they can register their bracelet with our dispatch so that anytime their name comes up, it's we're aware, or if we deal with a person suffering from one of these diseases, that we are aware of how to handle them and to help get them the best treatment possible. So I know that they put it out through our Facebook page, and I know that the chief and Sergeant Campo is really trying to find a way to promote this program to get that out there as soon as possible for more people. I think the only problem that we are coming up is that you have to voluntarily register for the program, a family member or the person. So when we promote it, we really need to make sure that family members, more so than those that are currently suffering, know about this so that they can register their loved ones. He also wanted me to mention that him and the mayor did have a meeting to start research into the red light cameras and the speed cameras, which he has brought up in the past, in one of the past meetings. I'm not sure if it was the November or the December one. That they're going to start research into that and see if that would benefit the city and how many we might need in the areas of the city in which we'll need it. He wanted me to mention that in the last week he has put to try to, he understands that overtime is necessary for us just due to our lack of manpower, but he wanted to mention that he did put overtime restrictions. He did tighten up some overtime restrictions on those on administrative duties and outside duties outside of the basic filling of patrol, the necessary filling of patrol. So he wanted me to mention that he is trying to rein some of that in and lessen the overtime that the department's putting on the city. And then the last thing he wanted me to mention as well is that he did implement, as of Sunday, he changed our shifts, not our shifts, how many squads we have. So if you're familiar with the police department, we were running on 8 squads, because we work a 5-on-3 off, so an 8-day week basically. We were running on 8 squads. He did change that down to 4 squads. He did a study an outside study using University of New Haven professors to actually look at it, because as he said, they're number people, unlike us as cops. And so they did do an outside study saying that it will make a small difference right now in the amount of officers that are on every shift, hopefully then cutting down on some overtime. And even more importantly, right now, the ordering that is happening to our patrol officers. And then eventually, as we add officers on and we get classes into the academy, it will show a change in the future. The chief is very much likes to look 5-10 years in advance. And he feels that changing from 8 squads to 4 squads will really make a difference in the future with how many officers we have on the street. The more officers, obviously, more proactive we can be. The chief loves walking posts. He wants to try to implement walking as well. But right now we can't do that. So he's hoping that this will hopefully make a change in the next few years for the department.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions of the department clerk regarding the chief's comments?
I have a question. So how many hours does that cover? If you have less squads, are they working around the clock, covering every hour on the hour that does not require overtime? Because it's still going to require overtime if you have less squads. Am I correct?
So each squad, we have 4 squads for every shift. now. So before it was 8 squads for every shift. So it's still just their regular 8-hour day unless they get ordered or they voluntarily take overtime. It's just limiting how many. So the way he puts it is that if you have 80 officers on 8 squads, it's only 10 officers a squad. If you have it on 4 squads, you have 20 officers a squad, essentially adding a couple more officers to each day. So some days we have 5, 6, 7 more officers than we did on the 8 squad rotation. So instead of them being spread out, they're just more combined, trying to add more officers.
So instead of 8 squads of 10, it's 4 squads of 20,
Essentially.
basically. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, or whatever the number has to be,
Right. Essentially.
8. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
We have anybody from the union here? No one from the union with us tonight? I know well, he's still relatively new. The union president was interested in addressing the board. Hopefully we'll see him next month. And with that, Lieutenant Rosen, who's been extremely patient. I don't think we need to go into executive session, Lieutenant, unless you believe we're going to be talking about any individual investigations. Do you foresee that in your report?
No, I'll be
Or-
very general, and then
Okay.
after the fact, I'll send you the report.
Okay, thank you. All right. With that, Lieutenant, floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for having me here today. As we begin a new year, per our policy and procedure 4.02, I'm required to put together a Office of Internal Affairs annual report. That report gets distributed to the commissioners as well as the mayor. So I'm here today just to provide some insight on it, give you a general overview, and then upon my completion, I'll email that to you. Part of that summary is going to be a 3-page executive summary, which is just very general, just the purpose of IA, the mission statements, and then it'll go into the 2023 annual report. So the purpose of the report is to compile the data throughout the year, as well as any statistical analysis to try to find any patterns, trends, and hopefully solutions to preventing any misconduct and officer alleged misconduct. So on the year, we initiated 269 investigations from internal affairs. The citizens complaint, which is governed by the board, we saw 111 citizens complaints on the year. Nearly a quarter of those were basic police conduct type complaints, such as professionalism and courtesy. One stat, I think it's a positive stat. It's a little better number than we had last year, even though we saw an increase in citizens complaints. But for every 1,000 calls for service, we saw a generated citizens complaint. And that's alleged misconduct, not necessarily sustained misconduct. We saw 21 chiefs internal investigations, internal affairs conducted this year or initiated this year, 23 inquiries, and a total of 113 background investigations. We understand it's important for hiring great candidates, not just for the police department, but the fire department, telecommunicators, as well as detention officers. So we do continue to push to hire those best candidates for those agencies. As far as the board, it's been a pretty active year, 2023. I think it was fairly efficient as well. We did 13 Barrows disciplinary hearings on the year, 5 second step hearings, and then a total of sustained complaints on the year were 19. That's both the 13 we saw with Barrows to the board, but also the ones with chief investigations for chief internal investigations. One of the patterns I noticed was the body worn camera. We saw a lot of sustained complaints on body worn camera where an allegation will come in and we can't prove or disprove because there is a lack of that body cam. So that will definitely be passed on to the chief of police. I also generated an annual report for him to discuss some of those topics as well. On the year, as far as closing out cases, we were efficient. We closed out 380 investigations on the year. We have currently 145 open investigations. We did see a 7.7% increase in citizens complaint this year compared to last year. A 23% increase of chief's internal investigations this year compared to 2022. But overall investigations, we dropped 7%. The reason for that was we had far fewer background investigations in 2023 as we did in comparison to 2022. I'll briefly touch on just the staffing needs of internal affairs. And again, in comparison to 2018, there was 11 members in internal affairs. We're currently down to 5. We have 3 investigative sergeants and 1 detective. So we are in dire need of investigators. I will say we are holding our own. We're doing the best we can. We are being as efficient as possible. We're doing the best we can at streamlining these investigations. But hopefully relatively soon we could get some new investigators in there, get them trained up as we transition some of the ones who wish to be removed after spending a long time in internal affairs. This year, again, training, and this is with the chief's initiative. He's big on training, wants to train up the department, but also internal affairs. So he reached out to me the other day. We're going to be sending 2 of our investigators to a high-end training, which I'm looking forward to. Also just additional internal affairs, advanced training with Data Law Group. We're going to be sending members of internal affairs too. So constantly training and building them up. And just some of the future goals for next year, again, it'll be more specific when I send you the report, but just continue training and then, of course, bringing in and transitioning in new investigators to move forward as we move forward in the future. Other than that, I just want to thank you for having me here. And again, thank you for the support of the board. I appreciate all you guys do. You guys make it great, not only to internal affairs, but the department, and we truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Any questions for the lieutenant?
I have questions. I always have questions. You know that.
Sure.
Lieutenant, thank you for reporting out. So you mentioned from 11 investigators, you're down to 5. And so when you have 2 in training, that brings you down to 3. Am I correct?
Yeah, usually the training is a one-day training. So we always have people in the office. So we're always there if we need to respond to a serious incident, yes.
So am I correct? There are positions for sergeants, right, that can move into OIA, but I understand that exam is on hold. Is that correct?
From what I gathered, there's definitely going to be a sergeant's examination this year. I spoke to the chief about that. He's pushing it with civil service. They're looking to have that in the spring or the summer. That is one of his initiatives, is to get some additional first-line supervisors.
So does the budget allocate for additional sergeants in OIA to fulfill the 11 that you had at one point? That's 6.
Yeah. So last year, the organizational chart had 8 investigative sergeants. I don't know what it shows as of now, but there is certainly budgeted positions for sergeant as a whole in the department. So yes. And another thing is the staffing study through Matrix. They're looking at the department as a whole, and they're going to determine potentially staffing needs of all the divisions throughout the department.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you mentioned 23% or 23 increase from the year before. I didn't catch that. What was that?
So there's a 23% increase of internal investigations. And internal investigations are the ones that are generated from the chief of police. That could be something as a suicide attempt and booking, or it could be serious misconduct alleged on an officer that doesn't necessarily come in the form of a citizen's complaint. So it's all about the origin of that investigation.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant, and we'll be looking forward to seeing your annual report that's going to be sent electronically, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'll have that over to you guys probably within the next 30 minutes. It's going to go to all the commissioners as well as the mayor.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the clerk's report on the status of pending matters. We have an update from item 3A from the regular board meeting of December 19th. Is that correct, Lieutenant?
Yes, it came to my attention that we never mentioned the business's name that we approved last month. And I just wanted to add that so I can add that to this agenda since it wasn't said yesterday, and that the business name is Ultimate Auto and at 1780 Stratford Avenue. And I just wanted to add that to the minutes.
Is there a motion to add that to the minutes?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
And at this time, I would ask the board to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks like 1-0 in favor. Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. No, actually, I was unanimous. Excuse me, Lieutenant. Okay, moving along. We are on old business. Item number 4, the installation of handicap sign at 356 Connecticut Avenue, which was tabled at the December 19th meeting. I believe we were waiting from a letter from the landlord because there is off-street parking, whether or not the tenant had access to off-street parking or not. We have nothing, anything new there on that item. Lieutenant Lyons, have we received anything from the applicant?
I did attach it to the email, but the letter from the landlord states that it does have a driveway, but my vehicle currently occupies it completely since I own a construction company and have work and personal vehicles parked there. He currently parks his car in front of the property. So the landlord's saying he does have access, but he blocks it, and therefore he cannot use the driveway.
Okay. And that's what I think we were looking for at last month's meeting. And because that wasn't available, the request from the city traffic engineer was to deny the handicap sign request, but apparently we have confirmation from the landlord that the applicant does not have rights to the driveway.
Right.
So therefore, unless there's any objection, I would entertain a motion to deny the request of the city traffic engineer and approve the request of the applicant for a handicap sign at 356 Connecticut Avenue.
So move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Yep. Seconded by Commissioner Diaz. All those in favor?
Farrell.
Yeah, well,
Aye.
Thank you.
That's the wrong
Thank you.
person.
Thank you,
It's
everybody.
Farrell.
Sorry. Okay, moving on, we have nothing under correspondence or letters of appreciation. We do have one item under widow's pension, is a request from Sabina Wilson to receive a widow's pension effective immediately. It appears that the paperwork is in order. Isn't that correct, Lieutenant Lyons?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that being the case, entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Diaz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the widow's pension request is approved. Moving on to item 8, those items under 8A, request of the city engineer's office to approve the following. The first is a 15-minute parking signs in front of the business, which is a market on 821 Madison Avenue. And the second is to install a handicap parking sign at 55 Palisade Avenue, where the applicant has met all the qualifications. Entertain a motion, unless there's an objection to it, to combine the two items under 8A and approve the city traffic engineer's recommendation. Not everybody at
moved.
once, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second.
Sec-
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on, the items under 8B. These are the city traffic engineer is requesting that we do not approve. The first is the installation of a handicap parking sign at 1980 Main Street at Caterino Auto Sales. 1980 Main Street is a business. And generally, as a rule, we don't install handicap signs in front of businesses. This is for the owner's use. I think he was claiming in his application he has no parking available off the street. In looking at his business, there is a parking lot. There's parking spaces alongside the driveway, which leads to the back. It appears that there's about a dozen spaces available. So my own personal opinion, I think the gentleman needs to provide himself with one of those spots, whatever the closest one would be, to the entrance of his business. Otherwise, he'd be taking a spot on that area of Main Street, which parking is at a premium.
Right.
Okay. Does anybody care to make a motion or any other discussion on the matter?
No.
Entertain a motion to approve the request of the city traffic engineer, which is not to approve the handicap request.
So moved.
Are we just approving that one?
We're doing one at a time here, because the three are all need to be explained differently.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, we have a motion from Commissioner Farrow to approve the city traffic engineer's request, which is not to approve the item under 8B1. Is there a second?
Second.
It's seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the next item is the installation of a handicap parking sign at 253 Carroll Avenue. This is a single family house that the owner is requesting a handicap sign in front of. The house is owned by the applicant, and the driveway currently holds the car, which I looked up and saw the car parked in the driveway with the handicap placard in the front window. Being that it's a single family house owned by the person requesting a handicap parking sign in front of that house, who has access to their own driveway, the city traffic engineer is requesting that we do not approve that handicap request. Any discussion? Any questions? Anybody care to make a motion?
No. I'm leaving
No.
it on to some other folks.
That's fine. Anybody else with us?
Meeting.
Okay, it looks like there's no action taken on this particular item. We're gonna move to item B3. Wake up, folks, please. We're gonna, the last one is to install stop signs along Sylvan Avenue at Edward Street and Dodd Avenue. The recommendation is not to install those signs because they're T intersections and there's not enough traffic coming from those side streets. So the city traffic engineer is recommending a speed study, which I believe we would have to order from the city traffic engineer. Does anybody have any questions on this particular item?
This,
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner
I don't have it
Diaz?
in front of me, Dan. It's a T, meaning that there is no stop sign on either side. One is just a free, and then at the end of that, he's saying that there shouldn't be a stop sign. People should just be aware when they get to the corner and look both ways and then turn. So
Yes.
I don't actually know the area. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I looked at it. It is a long stretch of Sylvan. So there's potential for speeding there. And what he's saying, generally as a rule, we don't install stop signs to slow traffic down. He's saying there's other ways of accomplishing that.
Okay.
So he's asking us to recommend or he's recommending a speed study.
Can I make that part of the motion to recommend a speed study?
Absolutely.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. All right. So I'm assuming the motion is to concur with the request of the city traffic engineer, which is not to approve the stop signs, but to recommend a speed study.
Now, if during the speed study we decide that we do need one, we can revisit, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
All right. Motion's been made by Commissioner Diaz. Does anybody care to second that motion?
Second.
Second. That was Commissioner Farrow. Thank you, Commissioner Farrow. Nice to see you. You're in the ball game here. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
No.
Okay. I'm assuming there was none opposed. It's unanimous. Okay.
No opposed.
No opposed. Okay. I'm going to go back to item B2. There was a request for a handicap parking sign to be put in front of a single family house that already has a driveway.
I'll make the motion, Dan.
And a motion, the motion is to agree
Concur
with
the city engineer.
the city traffic engineer, which is not to approve. So that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Looks like that motion's carried. Okay, we're going to be adjourning. Just keep in mind, we need to reconvene as Plan A. Entertain a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, a regular board meeting is adjourned. Moving to I'm sorry, we already covered that. Moving to the Plan A for the widow's pension Plan A members. Roll call would be, I'm sorry, Cruz,
Yes.
Diaz,
Here.
Farrow,
Present.
Lyons,
Here.
and Roach is here. We have a quorum of Plan A members. Entertain a motion to approve the Plan A widows request of Sabina Wilson. Is there a motion to approve that?
Yes. So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn Plan A. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been moved by several. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Diaz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Plan A is adjourned. Thanks for hanging in there, everybody.
Thank
care.
you.
All right.
Thank you. Everyone have a good
Talk
night.
to you
Thank
soon.
you,
Bye-bye.
Lieutenant.
Have a good night,
Bye-bye.
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Night.